Hi, this is Joe Kopsick. It's December 6th, 2019. I've just been like going through a bunch of Saturday Night Live sketches just to see like why the fuck are they making so many pedophilia jokes? So look forward to my upcoming documentary, Age Play Night Live. But in looking at those Saturday Night Live clips, I was watching old Victoria Jackson clips and I started watching her comedy and I saw her do this song called Angry Woman that she wrote, and like I've seen all her songs. Um, and I've just fallen in love with Victoria Jackson. Now that is a problem because America hates Victoria Jackson, just like they kind of hate Sinead O'Connor, and for similar reasons. So in 2010, Victoria Jackson's career just went kaput because she did. I don't know if it was an interview or what, but she is maybe tweeting. She wrote something that said that Glee, there was like a homosexual kiss, a male to male kiss on Glee, and she was raising a daughter at the time, and she was like worried that you know she was basically saying there's no show on TV anymore that doesn't have like homosexual or strongly sexual in general, including heterosexual themes. And she's saying there's no show on TV that my kid can watch, and as a parent, I have to respect that. She's absolutely right. And what she said at that time was also she also defended homophobia based on biblical justification. She was saying that it's not me saying that homosexuality is wrong; it's the Bible and God that's saying that homosexuality is wrong. And Howard Stern, who had her on his show a bunch of times before that, he basically ridiculed that, like right after her whatever interview or tweet that she did, and she was just labeled as a homophobe, and her career was destroyed. And a few years later, SNL had a 40-year reunion, and there's some confusion that happened. It's possible that she was purposely excluded from the cast members area of the 40th anniversary celebration of Saturday Night Live. So she's kind of a pariah. And I was looking into her career, and I just love her comedy and her songs, and she's such a talented gymnast as well. And she's just so beautiful to watch, and she does poems, and like, and I was also, so it's just like I had to reconcile the idea, that she's such a talented and beautiful, great person, but she maybe doesn't tolerate gay people, and a lot of people have a problem with that. Now I also learned a lot about her political activism in like 2010 or 2011 or something. Probably before that, probably around the time Obama was becoming president, late 2000s. She was getting involved with the Tea Party. She said she joined some kind of underground conservative-ish Tea Party group in, I think, LA. And like she's married to a cop. She's been married to a cop for like 20, 30 years or something. So maybe she has some conservative influence from him. She's from Miami. She lives in Nashville now. At least a few years ago she did. So yeah, she's conservative leaning. She said some arguably homophobic stuff, but I also looked the rest of her career. She has said some arguably not homophobic stuff because when Obama became president, she did this song called "There's a Communist in the White House," and then when Trump became president in 2016, she did her follow-up song "There's a Capitalist in the White House," celebrating Trump. So yeah, she was saying Obama's a communist because he's to the left of Hillary, and Hillary's a socialist, and she admits she got these ideas from that conservative group in LA. But she was saying like Trump is a capitalist, and that's good. But and one of the reasons that she said she likes Trump in that song, "There's a capitalist in the White House," was that he's not homophobic. Like she said something about LGBT issues, and that she was celebrating the fact that he's kind of moderate on those issues. Like she didn't take that opportunity. Like she didn't bash him for not being homophobic enough. So clearly she's not a person who hates gay people. She just doesn't believe that they should have gay sex. And it's like, okay, you believe that. Like fine, I accept that you believe that. I disagree that having gay sex is immoral or a sin or whatever. I mean, I have to admit that it is, it's actually arguable whether it is a sin in the Bible, because that whole thing, you shall not lay with a man the same way you lay with a woman or whatever. It's arguably just a condemnation of men having sex with boys, or it's a condemnation of men having the same kind of affection towards men as they do with women, and like don't raise families with men or whatever the hell. But so whatever the Bible has to say, that doesn't necessarily line up with what's voluntary and what's constitutional in terms of can prohibit people's behavior, free expression, sexual expression between consensual and adults. But anyway, Victoria Jackson has the right to her opinion, certainly because she's a defender of free speech, although she might not use it always in the same way that we like to. She used it to say that, perhaps she was right to criticize that. She was saying that it was becoming illegal to, or that they were considering making it illegal to, like, criminalizing speech against Islam. Like, Barack Obama started his presidential career, or maybe there's a few statements before he became president or something like that, where he said, like, the future does not belong to the people who defame the prophet of Islam. Like, and Victoria Jackson's like pointing out, look, they're trying to make criticizing Islam illegal, and it doesn't make sense that gays support Muslims because Muslims kill gays sometimes. And like, she's got a point. Like, look up the guy Pim Fortuyn. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. Pimfortuyn. He was a Dutch politician, a bald guy who got murdered after saying like the same thing Victoria Jackson said. Muslims kill gays sometimes, and yeah, they do. It's like they crucify gay people in Saudi Arabia. They're not as hostile towards homosexuality in Iran, for example, which is part of the reason I think we should be allies with Iran and not Saudi Arabia. But that's another topic. On that topic, I saw an old interview with Trump where he was saying that Saudis were taking advantage of us. He mentioned them along with Kuwait and Japan in terms of like they're depending on us to fund their military defense in the same way that he's kind of doing that with NATO now. So it's like we should have seen this coming from like 30 years ago that Trump would be president. But anyway, like Victoria Jackson is completely right about like I don't agree that Obama is a communist. But I do agree with that there was a threat, there's a possibility of criticism of Islam being repressed, and that is definitely a danger. And I line up with her on the free speech issue, even if I wouldn't use my free speech for the exact same reasons. And of course, I have in the past. In 2011, I was totally into the Obama's birth certificate, the White House officially released on whitehouse.gov. Yeah, that had layers. You could take it apart in Photoshop. If you can take it apart in Photoshop, then it has more than one layer. A normal scan of a document that hasn't been altered would have had one layer when you open it in Photoshop. So the document was obviously tampered with. The birth certificate was fake. I agree with Trump and Orly Taitz, and I don't know if Victoria Jackson has said that he wasn't from America. I don't know if she's weighed in on that. She definitely noted that he was raised in Indonesia, and that on a document from when he was younger in school, it listed his religion as Islam. And she's right to point that out. Because that's true. Although I don't know what she said about where she thinks he was born. Like could be Kenya, Hawaii, Indonesia. Who the hell knows? I personally think it was Indonesia. I don't think that Barack Obama Sr. from Kenya is his real father. But my issues, like my opinions aside, Victoria Jackson also said around 2011 outside some kind of like political event in Manchester, Tennessee, she said that Islam is evil. But several years later, at some point, she said, well, if all Muslims, she said it's good that all Muslims are not evil, or that they're not all radical, because otherwise we'd be screwed. Now that is slightly less racist, way less racist than saying like Islam is evil. Excuse me, Islamophobic, because Islam's not a race. So yeah, maybe I do throw racist term around a little too much, but yeah, in a sense, like there's valid criticisms of me who throw racism around, like when I'm talking about Islamophobia, or the liberal overreaction to Victoria Jackson saying that it says in the Bible you shouldn't have gay sex. Like, hey liberals, that there's conservatives in Hollywood, deal with it. Now, again, I don't agree with Victoria Jackson on everything she said, like I've explained, but I don't think she should have been made into a pariah. And she was criticizing the sexualization of television shows that children are potentially watching. She specifically mentioned during prime time. She's like, this is in the early evening. Kids are still awake. They're watching Glee, watching gay kisses. And it's like, I'm not saying gay kiss on TV is bad. maybe it's bad if if it's that time of day. But again, just like don't let your kid watch that show. Know something about the shows they're watching. But on the other hand, you couldn't have predicted that. She couldn't have predicted that as a mother. And I think Howard Stern was wrong to say, well, then don't just don't let your kid watch TV at all. Then if you think all TV shows are sexualized, it's like it shouldn't have to come to that. There should be some TV shows that don't have sexuality. Like there's plenty of Cartoon Network shows. There's just fucking veiled allusions to sex and just fart jokes. I mean, Disney has all the sexual symbolism on their covers and in sexual dialogue in the movies. At least 12 examples of it. Like you don't know anymore, and in some sense, you can't predict. So in some sense, Victoria Jackson was completely right to complain that there's practically no TV shows where you can know your kids are watching. It can be safe. I had to tell my ex-girlfriend when she had her kid over here. I had to tell her we were watching Rocko's Modern Life. I had to tell her, don't let him watch the episode where the dog fucks a mop. So yeah, that's your beloved children's fucking Rocko's Modern Life for you at Nickelodeon. Which, by the way, Nickelodeon and NBC and by relation, sorry, what the hell? Nickelodeon, MTV, CBS, and Viacom are all now the same company. So you got that to worry about. You got Disney to worry about. Disney, ABC. ABC is the one that covered up for Epstein. So, and also ABC, I think, used to own Miramax, which was started by Weinstein. So Disney and Nickelodeon, and the fact that Nickelodeon is related to MTV, it's a huge problem. And all the pedophilia in SNL is a problem. And honestly, there's a clip of Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe hosted SNL shortly after there was a video leaked where he was a 24-year-old approximately having sex with a 16-year-old and maybe another woman. I don't remember. But the Rob Lowe sex tape leaked in 92 or 93. And when Rob Lowe hosted, they did this sketch in the beginning of the show where Lorne Michaels, Rob Lowe, and Victoria Jackson. This will all be in the documentary Age Play Night Live. And Victoria Jackson was there. Well, Lorne Michaels and Rob Lowe are having this conversation. Like, Rob Lowe's like, I don't think I should do the show tonight. People are going to hate me. I did that tape. So, like, Rob Lowe is doing this monologue, and he's like, hey, how's everyone doing? I got a new movie coming out, blah, blah. And they have a guy, this is in the script, on a cue card. A guy in the audience yells out, you son of a bitch, I have a daughter. And everyone just laughed their fucking asses off after Rob Lowe committed an act of statutory rape that should have ruined his career when the sex tape leaked. And I don't hate Victoria Jackson. I fucking love her so much. She's so pure and sweet, and just like the way she defends herself and is involved in activism. I don't always agree with it, but I appreciate what she does with it. And she's just so fucking talented. Like, her father was in vaudeville. And so I have to admonish her a little bit. And obviously I'm not trying to, guilt trip her, but like, she was in this sketch and like, so in her book, there's a little bit of allusion to the fact that Nora, what was her name? Oh my God. Can't believe I'm blanking. Jan Hooks and, this is terrible. Jan Hooks and Nora Dunn in Saturday Night Live, they were slightly mean to her, and allegedly she alluded to this book, this fact in her book, which admittedly I haven't read. I'm commenting on a book that I haven't read, just like kind of Howard Stern did. So it's not good that I've done that. Got to buy her book. Is My Bow Too Big? How I Went From Being an SNL cast member to the Tea Party. I do plan to buy that book. So Howard Stern was interviewing her, and he tried to kind of exaggerate how controlling her father was and how abusive. He kind of overplayed it, and like Victoria Jackson has said in one of her clips I watched on YouTube somewhere, that like she knows she wasn't brainwashed into Christianity because her brother was totally allowed to like not accept Christianity when his father was a preacher. She's entertained the possibility that she was brainwashed, and she's concluded that she wasn't. Hollywood thinks she's brainwashed, thinks she should die. Hollywood said the fucking same thing about Sinead O'Connor, who is trying to expose the Catholic Church's pedophilia that was going on in Ireland, that she said the British facilitated. I think it was Northern Ireland that she's complaining about specifically. And then we found out that Pope John Paul II was just, allowing them to move around priests who have been accused of child molestation. So Victoria Jackson was complaining about, kids potentially watching sexualized TV shows, specifically Glee, and everyone's like, "You're a homophobe, fuck you, you're a pariah." And then we find out in 2018 that Mark Salling, an actor on Glee, and admittedly he wasn't one of the guys who was in the gay kiss scene that got Victoria Jackson all up in arms, but Mark Salling committed suicide in 2018 after it was found that he had child pornography. So maybe Victoria Jackson was right to say something about Glee. Maybe the people who are criticizing people like Lady Gaga, Madonna, Katy Perry, potentially putting on Illuminati displays and having sexual and drug-related lyrics and imagery in their performances and music. It's just not good for the generation of kids that people don't generally think about the ramifications of what we're doing on kids. Because sad to say, society is more libertarian and less authoritarian than the government is. The people in government want all kinds of control. Obviously there's a bunch of corrupt and drug addicted and fucked up people in government, but in some sense, we want the government to be more free, and we want the government to be less authoritarian. We want, the people are, in a sense, too fucking free right now. Admittedly, there's a lot of people in jail, probably 90% of them, for victimless crimes and drugs. But there's a lot of people who are out in the general population who should be in jail because we don't treat things like child molestation anywhere near as harshly as we do, 10 years ago, or Virginia, if you're talking about those things, drugs. In Virginia, you can, they punish drugs more harshly than murder, and probably in some other senses, in other states, probably all the other states, there's different ways you can measure it, is what I'm saying. So there's people who should be in jail, and there's people who should be out of jail. And jails are just becoming free-for-alls. There was a women's prison that the security guards just raped whoever they want, and you couldn't resist. So we have a really fucked up, over-sexualized society that is treating children in a too free way and exposing them to too much sex and violence, and they're making self-harm acceptable. And that's this is 10 years later. Victoria Jackson tried to warn us about this shit 10 years ago, and this was 6 years before the Obama presidency ended. And now we know that Joe Biden, the vice president between 2009 and 2017, we saw him pinching a girl's nipple live on C-SPAN. You can't watch C-SPAN without watching literal child pornography. The vice president stroking a girl's nipple. C-SPAN broadcasts child pornography unknowingly. Do you understand the seriousness of the fact that there's a video out there, Joe Biden pinching a young girl's nipple? Is that child pornography? I want to know. So if C-SPAN can't stop itself from fucking unknowingly broadcasting the vice president molesting a girl live on air, maybe we should give Victoria Jackson another chance.